chilling. We back with another smooth stream on another smooth orderly day. We got idiot YouTuber snuck on North Sentinel Island. He got caught.
And is often considered the most dangerous place in the world. It's home to one of the most deadly uncontacted tribes on Earth, who have unalived several outsiders who dared to step foot on their island, burying them in shallow graves right on the beach for the world to see. Going there is almost certainly a death wish, but in the modern age,
Hold on.
creators are willing to risk it all for clout, like Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov, who just recently attempted a trip to the deadly island. And although he somehow managed to come back unscathed, it's possible that he might have triggered a mini genocide on the island itself. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I make weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be looking into the latest idiot who has attempted to visit North Sentinel Island for clout, the despicable acts he committed for content while he was there, and how he might even spend the next 5 years of his life in prison because of those acts. But you know what won't land you in prison? Subscribing to the channel. So hit that subscribe button and
Hit my subscribe button, gang. I guess I'll wait a second or two. It's not that difficult.
let's get on with the video. To fully understand just how dumb and insensitive this entire trip was, it's worth knowing who this man is and why he was so desperate to reach this uncontacted island. Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov is a 24-year-old YouTuber from North Goldwater, Arizona. He runs a YouTube channel named Neo-Orientalist, which he created fairly recently in September.
You mean to tell me he went to North Sentinel Island with 4.60 with 4,000 subscribers? I thought somebody doing this would be on Mr. Beast level. That just shows you. Dang, he risked it for 4,000 people, guys. You gotta be Mr. Beast level to do something like that.
September of 2024, almost a year later, and it's still fairly unknown, with only 4.6k subs, and only one major piece of content, a 6-part vlog series documenting the 3 weeks Mikhailo spent in one of the most dangerous places in the world, Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, along with several shorts highlighting the various moments from the same trip. Now, to his credit, he did put effort into properly exploring Afghanistan's culture from an objective lens, regardless of his personal opinions on it, even documenting important historical locations across the country and day-to-day life of the locals. It seemed like he was genuinely interested in showing his viewers a part of the world that doesn't get much coverage, even if it meant putting his life in danger. Fortunately for him, viewers noticed, with one thankful viewer writing, "I'm glad these videos actually show the real Afghanistan, unlike other videos where in 40 minutes, half is showing them walking to a hotel and inside the hotel, and the other half."
Yeah, this dude could have really like blew up from like just doing other stuff. Like he didn't have to hit the hard launch and go to North Sentinel Island. He could have went to like Haiti or something.
Is eating in a restaurant and buying clothing. However, despite all of this, there were some questionable moments within the content he posted, especially his shorts, where his thrill-seeking side would take over. Take, for example, him posing with one of the Afghan militia's machine guns, shooting with the militia, and recording a road rage incident that turned violent. But regardless, his vlogs still did moderately well, generating around 20 to 30,000 views per video, especially considering that they were the first videos he ever posted. He had a real opportunity to keep putting out videos like this, exploring different cultures, and generating an audience that enjoyed his slightly more risky adventures from time to time. However, Mikhailo didn't want to build an audience over time. He wanted to go viral overnight. So he decided to take the biggest risk he could think of to reach this goal, and ended up choosing North Sentinel Island as his next.
So I wonder if he like took the trip to India or whatever, and then he had to like find like some under secret service to get here. I wonder what he did.
Destination, blatantly disregarding the law, the obvious threat to his own life, and the threat to the people on that island, all in search of internet clout. For those who don't know, North Sentinel Island is approximately the size of Manhattan, New York, and is located about 750 miles off the coast of India. As a result, it's completely cut off from civilization. In fact, the only civilization that's even remotely close to it is Port Blair, the capital of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. However, despite its isolation, there is a group of people that have been surviving on the island for centuries, without ever stepping foot on the mainland. A tribe known as the Sentinelese, rumored to be the direct descendants of the first humans to migrate out of Africa. The estimated 200 Sentinelese on the island have adopted a primitive lifestyle, hunting for animals and fish with spears, bow, and arrows, while wearing little to no clothing, leading many people to believe that they might be humanity's last remaining link to the Stone Age. However, their unique and detached existence has also made them a prime target over the years, from explorers, adventurers, and even governments trying to bring them back to civilization. The earliest incident of outsiders making contact with the Sentinelese occurred sometime in the 1880s, when the British Navy led a survey mission to North Sentinel Island that quickly turned ugly. In their attempt to civilize the Sentinelese, the Navy ended up kidnapping 6 members of the tribe, an elderly couple and their 4 children, and took them to Port Blair, where tragedy awaited them. You see, because the Sentinelese have been living isolated from the rest of the world.
Yeah, I heard about this. Like they're basically like, if they step foot off that island, they're getting sick instantly.
For thousands of years, they haven't developed immunity to any of our diseases. So when these 6 members of the tribe were eventually brought to the mainland, the elderly couple ended up falling sick and dying almost immediately. Fortunately, the children managed to survive and were quickly sent back to the island along with several gifts as a gesture of peace. However, the damage was already done. The Sentinelese have consistently responded with arrows and aggression to anyone that has tried to enter their territory since that incident, no matter their intention. Like in 2000.
That's like what the group chat looks like after a fantasy football win, ain't it?
2004, when a Sentinelese man on the beach tried to shoot an Indian Coast Guard helicopter with a bow and arrow, even though it only came to check on the tribe's welfare after a tsunami had ravaged the surrounding area. Or in 2006, when a couple of fishermen accidentally drifted into the waters near North Sentinel Island while poaching a fish, and the Sentinelese ended up unaliving them and burying their bodies on the beach. There has only ever been one instance when the
Yo, they didn't even ask no questions or nothing. Just straight up on site. Can't even go fishing nowadays. I wonder if it's like stuff on that island too, though. Like, 'cause it seems like they're trying to protect something at this point. Like, it don't seem like they're just trying to like hurt people for themselves. It's like they got something on that island. It might be gold, something.
Sentinelese people didn't react aggressively to a group of visitors landing on their shores. This was on January 4th, 1991, when Trolokanath Pandit, the director of the Anthropological Survey of India at the time, decided to visit the island with his team. He had already been studying the island and its natives for several years, so when his boat started approaching, he knew exactly how to signal the tribesmen that he and his team were friendly.
To overcome limited communication and uncertain vocabulary. Coconuts do not grow on these islands, but they are valued by the Sentinelese.
In the end, they managed to befriend the tribesmen by copying their mannerisms and using their unique language to communicate with them.
Yo, look at that water.
However, this event didn't end up having any lasting impact on the relationship with the Sentinelese. So, in 2012, an amendment was made to the Andaman and Nicobar Island Protections of the Aboriginal Tribes Regulation of 1956, making it illegal to get within 3 miles of North Sentinel Island. But despite those restrictions being in place, there have still been some idiots who have tried visiting the island, like John Allen Chow, a 26-year-old American Christian missionary.
He looked like he just went to that island and just got dominated. Just from looking at him, he looked like he just went there.
who believed North Sentinel Island was Satan's last stronghold on Earth. So he made it his mission to
Yeah, I told you. He looked like he just went there thinking it was about to be sunshine and rainbows. Instantly got tore up.
bring people of North Sentinel Island towards Christianity, but as you might imagine, all of his attempts ended in complete disaster. He was forced to retreat twice and even had to swim a mile to safety after his second failed attempt. Despite all this, he tried to fulfill his mission a third time on November 16, 2018, and ended up losing his life. In the days following his death, several news outlets picked up on his story, broadcasting the risks of trying to contact an uncontactable tribe and the danger it posed to both the people trying to visit the island and the local tribesmen. But of course, these warnings would land on deaf ears in Mikhailo's case, who, despite all the danger, chose North Sentinel Island.
I'm trying to figure out, are these people like making it like through to the island, like the land? Or is it like as soon as you touch that like sand barrier in the water, like straight arrows? Like that's what I'm trying to figure
As
out.
the next destination for his thrill-seeking vlogs, and eventually ended up paying the price for his decision. It all started in October 2024, when Mikhailo decided to take a trip from the United States to Port Blair, just like John Allen had. He got his hands on an inflatable kayak soon after landing on the island, and planned to use it to make a solo journey to the island. However, before his kayak could even hit the water, the staff of the hotel in which he was staying intervened, threatening to call the police if he left for the island, which probably ended up saving Mikhailo's life, since not only would the kayak have easily deflated if the Sentinelese decided to start showering it with arrows, the journey itself would have been extremely difficult, especially if the waves were even slightly rougher than normal. Fortunately, he listened to the staff at that moment and decided to fly back to the States almost immediately, but his obsession with going viral soon buried any fears he might have had about what awaited him on the island. So he decided to try a second time in January 2025. And made the trip from the US to Port Blair once again. However, this time he had a slightly different.
Hey, now that I'm thinking of this, he really went all in. Cause you gotta think about it. Like he's trying to get famous. And it's like two thoughts. It's like, okay, what if I go here and something bad happens? But what if you go there and you succeed? Hey, I'm just saying.
Plan. Instead of an inflatable kayak, he brought an inflatable motorboat with him. The only problem was, this motorboat was missing a key component, the motor. So Mikhailo started reaching out to local mechanics and engineers in Port Blair, asking them to help attach a motor to his boat, and he found someone who could do it almost immediately. However, Mikhailo wasn't one to sit around and wait, so he decided to visit yet another indigenous tribe while the motor was being constructed. He hitched a ride to the Baratang Islands, located approximately 90 miles north of Port Blair, and successfully made contact with the native Jarara tribe. But here's the kicker. He ended up recording his interactions with the tribe, which, as it turns out, is also illegal under Indian law. He eventually returned back to Port Blair on March 26, 2025, and by this time, the motor for his boat was ready and attached. After spending a few days studying routes and monitoring tides, Mikhailo finally left for North Sentinel Island at approximately 1 AM on March 29. And surprisingly, the journey itself went smoothly. Not only did he have to contend with less Coast Guard patrols, since he'd left from the nearby Kumadera beach, and not the more heavily patrolled beach in Port Blair, the waters were also incredibly calm throughout the trip. In fact, he managed to arrive in North Sentinel Island's vicinity around 10 AM, which is way earlier than he'd imagined. However, upon his arrival, he would be greeted with absolute silence, since there were absolutely no Sentinelese on the beach awaiting his arrival like he'd imagined, which in reality was incredibly lucky, because if they were present, it's more than likely they'd have started firing arrows at him by this point. Still, as he continued inching closer, he started getting more frustrated, resulting in him doing the most brain-dead thing ever, and using a whistle to alert the Sentinelese to his presence. He whistled.
Bro, there is no way. So he's seeing all these people get massacred by these people. Bro, he didn't even have to do all that. He could have got his film went to the island and got out of there, but he wanted to get them. That makes no sense.
For over an hour, but luckily received no response from the Sentinelese, all while slowly approaching the beach. And when he finally arrived, he found the beach and the nearby forest just as deserted as it looked from his boat. So he spent the next hour recording the deserted beach and collecting sand samples to take back with him before engaging in his most despicable act yet, leaving a half-empty can of Diet Coke and a coconut on the beach as an offering to the tribe, knowing full well that the drink he'd already drank from probably contains pathogens that could possibly wipe out the entire tribe if even one member decided to drink it. As a commenter rightly states, this guy is a dummy. Putting an entire civilization/heritage at risk for a couple of years, your values are truly mind-boggling. After leaving the can of Coke, he made the only sane decision of this entire trip and left the island on the same boat he arrived on, happy that he managed to escape without getting offed. However, little did he know the real consequences were waiting for him back at Port Blair. You see, while he was returning to Kumadera Beach at around 7 PM that same day, two fishermen on the coast noticed his boat. They quickly alerted the local authorities about where they suspected Mikhailo was coming from, resulting in police finding and arresting him a couple of days later on March 31st. They ended up confiscating his GoPro with all of the footage on the island and launched a full criminal investigation into Mikhailo's actions. In other words, Mikhailo could face up to 5 or even 8 years in prison for his crimes if convicted. Now, it's important to note that he hasn't been charged yet, but given the recent trend of foreign governments not letting American nuisance creators get away with whatever they want, there's a good chance he won't be coming home anytime soon. But even if he somehow manages to escape the charges, there's one thing for sure. Mikhailo's already blown any shot he had at becoming a YouTuber, ending his career before it could even start, and he has no one to blame for his own failure but himself. He had the opportunity to stop chasing this incredibly dumb adventure in October 2024 when he got caught the first time. However, his need for clout didn't let him abandon the idea, and now he could be facing serious prison time for his actions, and that too in a foreign country, all because he was too
Dang. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and we out.
Right now.